Did you hit record on that before?
Right. Hello, lovely people. I'm just making sure I have pressed record. I have. So, hello and welcome to the second. And I'm not going to keep doing that, I promise. Interview in my interviews that I've decided to do. I'm Emma Sidney, your Streamline strategist, and today we're going to be talking to Diane Belz from the lovely United States of America. Just because
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Fab. So, just to sort of remind you of the purpose of these interviews, I have questions, so I will look down every now and then. But really, the purpose of these interviews are for us as small businesses to connect with each other, learn, inspire, discover things that we didn't really know, interesting people, because there's lots of people out there, and then take that and apply it in our own fabulous way. So to start with, so we're sharing business stories, and they're going to come out every fortnight. So roughly every second and third Wednesday in the month is the idea. So the starting point, my lovely Diane, is tell us about your business, who you help, and why.
Good question. My business is I do career coaching. So I help professionals who are in what I'll call a career transition. They could have lost their job, through layoffs, terminations, whatever reason, or they relocated, they no longer have the position that they once had. Or I help people who are in a job and they want to get out. Like I call breakout career prison. They want to leave. Yes, that they've been in a job that they don't like. And the majority of people, when they have lost their job, they feel the sense of relief. Like they know it wasn't right for a while. And if we look at all of our jobs, no matter how long you've spent in it, what you started at and what that job looks like now, even with the same title, can be very, very different. And as you had said earlier, it's almost like you've lost your soul within your job. It's no longer fulfilling and satisfying. So what I do is I really work with them to understand their life stories. And through their life stories, that's where I help them find their strengths. Because I know if you're working within your strengths, your God-given strengths, your innate ability to do things that no one's taught you how to do, that you're going to have much greater potential for success and satisfaction. And your definition of success, not that corporate definition of success that we all have to be executives and CEOs or whatever. But having that every day you go home and feel like, I did some really good work today. And you feel that sense of joy and happiness. And I help them find that.
Cool. And what inspired you to take that path? Before we came on and press record, we were talking a bit about this, weren't we? About almost trying to escape
careers. And it just seems a time like I have struggled with that decision, what I wanted to do when I grew up my entire life. So I grew up I'm one of six, number 5 of 6, I should say. And my sisters and brothers seemed to know what they wanted to do. And I would get that question, aunts and uncles who haven't seen you, well, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I'd have that blank look like, I have no idea. No idea. One sister wanted to be a nurse. The other wanted to be a teacher. Very traditional female roles for my age group. And I had no clue. I remember there was a game called Barbie Career Game, and there was like a stewardess. It was a game. And why I remember that game, this is part of the stories that I'm talking about, Emma, that I would remember that. And I also would remember watching people working. And I would watch that if they loved it or if they didn't, if they were good at it and if they weren't. And how would I know as a young kid? I would tell teachers, you really are good at this. And you really don't like it either. And I would talk to a friend of my parents was a plumber. And I just couldn't understand why someone would want to come in and clean up a poopy mess. And I was intrigued by what people did, but I could never answer that question. So in high school, couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. I felt like everyone knew and I didn't. I felt like the outlier. Like, how do they know what they want to do? And everyone's going to college all excited. I'm like, I don't want to go. I don't know what I want to do. And I found my husband, not my career. I left college, had 3 kids, and my husband convinced me to go back. I still did not know what I wanted to do. I didn't feel like my gifts and talents were obvious. Like I couldn't sing, I couldn't dance, I wasn't an athlete. I didn't have a desire to teach, which is the irony of it is that's what I do now. And, just didn't have that. So I embarked on a career in human resources. And I liked people and I liked watching people work. And I didn't even connect it back then. So I spent 20 years in HR. I rose to the level of executive vice president. And throughout my career, I was helping thousands of people either get hired, get promoted, find that space, and spend a lot of time developing people. So I quit my job. Because in 2007, when they had the the financial meltdown,
yeah,
HR was taking people's jobs, and I made a decision at that point. I was no longer going to be involved in that process. So there was 1,000 people I had to lay off of a 3,000 employee company, and I told my boss I want to be one of those 1,000. I don't want to be in this space. I feel like I'm very much a remodeler, helping people remodel, businesses remodel, get better. And I was not going to be part of that demolition crew. And I left thinking, I'll go get another executive job. And it never happened.
Wow.
And I realized that a lot of it didn't happen because I didn't want it to happen. So I had to do a lot of soul searching and so many things that I did to figure out how to get through this path. And through that, I've developed programs to help other people feeling in that same situation. They're not sure what they're good at. And we're all good at something. Not even what we're good at, because that's just it's so little. What you're great at, what gets you excited every day when you wake up with a little pep in your step and joy in your voice. That's what I wanted. So I started teaching classes for our local community colleges for people who were long-term unemployed. And this is anywhere from over 6 months to some people it was years that they could not get back to work. And I saw them with different eyes. I saw through all the things that people were saying no to. And I found those places where there was a potential yes. So I was helping them discover their strengths. I just got my heart for people, like how hard it is. See my voice, I'm like, I get sad. That people just, they're diminished and they're destroyed by organizations because they take care of their employees as long as they're doing what's good for the company, and it might not be good for the employee. Me terminating people is not good for Diane.
No.
So this is where the journey has, and every time I would try to leave it, I'm like, no, I don't want to talk about careers. I didn't even know what I wanted to talk about. And I'm saying, but this is so much people's lives. It's who they are, how they identify themselves. And if I can get people closer to that place that they feel that joy and that passion, like they're doing soulful work, hey, you don't even have to pay me to do that. That's what I realized. Like once I found that space that I just want to do it, you almost feel like an evangelist for there's a different way to approach life and a different way to do this thing called work. And it can be joyful and passionate and purposeful, and it doesn't have to be so awful, so crushing and draining.
It's quite interesting because a few things resonated with me as you were describing your story, and 2 things in particular. One is I remember when I was at school as a teenager and we did the careers questionnaire, which of course comes out with lots of boxes of what you think, the questionnaire thinks about what a career is. And I didn't know what I wanted to be. And I'm very much the same lines. I spent a long time trying to work out what I want to be or do, and don't necessarily think that you ever not about that, is it? It's not about that label. It is about more, but careers is a way in. And it came out as being a lawyer. So that wasn't where my heart was. But I did actually study law as a sort of secondary thing.
Okay.
I went and did American Studies and Media Studies as a degree, and then I went to do law because I thought I'd better be a lawyer now. So there was that, which was quite interesting. The other thing that was with me is having gone and worked and audited in a lot of organisations and spoken to a lot of people at different levels within organisations. It's fascinating and always has been fascinating to me. Now, a lot of the time, leaders have fallen into that because they're good at their specialism, they're not good at being a leader, and they're miserable as a leader. And then also that whole thing of, because I have a lot of public sector background, I'm staying here being miserable because I need my mortgage. So I love what you're doing, because actually I'm the same, I believe wholeheartedly, that once we connect to our soul and our purpose and get into that zone, it opens so many more doors, and that's what you do. But a little like all of us in small business, you almost have to make it tangible, which is the career side, to explain it to people, and all that greatness that sits underneath the iceberg that we actually do isn't what we tell people we do.
Mm-hmm.
How, it's been quite a while then that you've been doing this, and I'm just wondering how your business has changed, because the world has changed so much in that time, and also how your career coaching and what you're working with people has changed in that time.
Well, I think this is a shift that I had. Is I would do subcontract work for people who do outplacement services, and they were always looking for people to get a job, and I was looking to help them understand why they didn't have a job. What was the cause? Why were they here? What did they need to learn? What did they have to do? And it was that almost that force, like, just get them a job. That's good enough. And I have found with a lot of people who have been laid off or let go, there is that relief, that feeling of, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I don't have to do this anymore, but then what will I do? And I think that my focus has changed, is to trying to not get them a job, but really help them find their strengths, which will always be their insurance policy so that they can get jobs. And if we're always working on getting new skills or certifications or degrees or something else, there's people who are doing those things without degrees or certifications because they're doing it naturally. So what if we just found those natural strengths as early as we can and then build on that? And I think that that's where my shift was. I said, we're not really helping them if we can't figure out what was stopping them from getting that job and how maybe they communicated what they're good at. And this is the thing that I discovered on this side that I didn't know before, as someone who hired and recruited, thousands upon thousands of people, was that when the things that you can't talk about, that you can't explain why you can do them, are the things that we should be hiring them for. Like, whatever you can't tell people that you don't know how you do it, that's what we should be hiring them for. And I had this perception before, am I being naive or just not going through this journey, is that if they couldn't speak about it, then they really didn't know how to do it, where I found the exact opposite is true. You can't tell me how you do this. Then I'm saying, this must be your strength. And I've discovered ways to help them articulate their strengths that they couldn't do before.
Cool, that sounds fab. So what motivates you to kind of keep going and to keep helping people?
Just knowing, I feel like I've set another soul free. Like, if you can get them feeling that they're in that space, that they're really feeling satisfied, their confidence shifts. I will have, because I still work with the community colleges, and I would have these people so resistant. So there was this gentleman in my class, and he's like, my resume's fine. It was a train wreck. And people don't want to do this. And I think part of the process of putting themselves on paper is uncomfortable. Interviewing is uncomfortable. Talking about yourself is uncomfortable. And when I can just continue to, I said, I know that I have someone in the room that we're going to do a total transformation. So he had gone through the class, and his resume, he could not believe that I was able to put him on that piece of paper. And he looked and he said, I doubted you. I doubted that you could do this. I doubted. And there you were asking a few questions. And there I am on this piece of paper. And he was skipping. This is a grown man. Like he's always skipping out of the room. So he was so impressed with what I did. He was done his portion. So these are like maybe anywhere from 12 weeks to 6 months. The college has them in certification programs. He knew that I was teaching again. He came back into the room to be the testimonial to what I could do. And it was like he became my evangelist. Like you will not believe what she can do. I said, Albert, like tone it down a bit, you know. I don't want to raise their expectations too high. And when you can see someone who just felt really beat up, he was fired and he wasn't sure why, and he had really great results and he really was good at what he did, and he was fired. And a lot of times people are fired because they're afraid of you. They're afraid you might take my job. And it changed his whole persona. And that's when you're feeling like when your careers are hurting. I know how mine felt. And I hurt, and then my relationships with my family. So when I can see someone get that excited and feel that great, that's what I do it for. The lady that I spoke to, that I hadn't talked to in I don't know how many years. And when we got off, she's talking, she says, I have hope for the first time in a long time. That's why I do it.
That sounds awesome. That sounds so lovely to get that kind of feedback.
That you're really feeling like you're doing work that's meaningful, and it's good for you and it's good for them. I want that combination. It's both parties. Not like, oh, it's good for the company, but it doesn't feel good for you. I want them to have that feeling like it's good for both.
I do have a theory that if everybody who's employed for an organisation is recognised and appreciated for their strengths and skills, it actually would lead to better organisations.
Oh, absolutely.
But I do think organisations, and whether it's a cultural thing, I mean, this is in the UK and it sounds similar in the US as well, because that's not appreciated. People are quite often thrown and treated like trash and all of this kind of stuff, instead of actually, you know what, you're not in quite the right job, but we could help you get a better job, or we need to, when we recruit on strengths. But anyway, so I love what you're doing. I really do, because I think at the end of the day, we can probably change corporations over time, but we can only change corporations over time if the people going into those organisations come from that sort of point of view. So it's got to come from the individual, I think.
Well, I think you're right. It has to start with them and being almost confident to say, this is who I am, this is what I have to offer. And that's a lot what I teach them. I have a program and I call it Sell Yourself Like an Infomercial. Know what you are excellent at, what problems that you solve, and do not go off script. On your resume, do not sell anything that you don't want to do. Do not advertise that you'll do this thing that you hate to do. And by giving them that empowerment, and I think once they see it and they start feeling it and saying, no, this is what I do really well, you can go in with a level of confidence. Because too often, what I feel like is employers ask their employees to leave their best stuff in the car. Leave that stuff at home. We don't want that here. Where it's your like best stuff, where you're most valuable, where you could do awesome work and really help the corporation go. it's like, oh, we don't need that. You need to dial that down. You need to, like, I'm tired of your ideas, or I'm tired of you digging into my stuff and finding problems and then giving me solutions. I don't want that. I just want to keep moving forward. And to feel like we're asking people, leave your best stuff at home, how crazy is that? Like, why would you do that? It's like asking Adele not to sing, right? Please do not sing. We want you to come in here and file, but do not utter. And how often do you hear people who really sort of said enough is enough of people trying to tell me who I am and what I should be doing, and when they're set free, the wonderful things that they've been able to accomplish. So yes, I do agree. It has to start with the individuals. Figuring that out.
I think as well, it's one of the reasons that I think that there's a lot more small businesses developing now, because people can then go, these are my strengths and this is what I'm going to do in business, and do it that way, or consultancy or whatever. Because I think there's a feel. Well, I felt I'm more empowered to do that rather than having a job description, which kind of gets ignored, and like you say, the strengths don't get utilised and all of that. So what one piece of advice would you give to other, small business owners, people who are, instead of going into corporations, deciding to set up in business or have been doing their own thing for a little while? What do you think is sort of the biggest thing for you in what you do?
Well, I think we can find that intersection between what I call our power, and that's the strengths that we have, our passions, and then our purpose. And if you can find that intersection, then people will want that, because you're working in your strength zone. You're working about things that you're passionate about. So you could have a strength, but then if it's used in the wrong place, then you're not getting the results that you want to get. I'm really looking to say, what am I here for? Why? And to take all of our struggles, like my career struggles, and actually do something good with them. Because when I talk to people, I said, I know exactly how you feel. Like, I'm not the expert in you, but I have expertise that I've honed over 30 years, in this career business, to help other people. So if you can find that space, and it can be difficult as business owners because I'm doing things that I'm not that good at. Well, I'm thankful Jody's with me, to help me along that process. And I think that's the part that's discouraging. You have to do it all for a while. And if you can find a way to just focus on that thing that you love to do and that you're really good at, it's just going to make your life and the people that you're serving so much better. Find that intersection.
I love that. That's so true, having recently experienced it myself.
Which part is true?
The part of bringing the intersection of those skills and strengths and purpose together. Mm-hmm. Definitely. That really resonates with me.
It's almost like there's like a relief valve that opens up and saying, oh, there it is. There it is. I couldn't see it before. There it is.
But I think sometimes it's, I found, and again, this is my experience when I've gone out and about and worked with people, is we can so often just be like this that we can't actually see it. And that's where someone like yourself can help that person just go, oh, the world has opened up.
They skip out.
And I can skip.
They feel lighter. There's a lightness, like that burden's been lifted. And then there's also just the power of working with other people. I believe in that group coaching, training, that they can see that they're not alone. That as I felt, like I thought I was the only one who didn't know what I wanted to do. And they were all just making stuff up so they could leave home and go to college and party for a couple of years.
I love it.
The number is, what is it? Close to 80% of people are not doing what they went to college for.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, why are you going to college if you're not doing what you went to college for? That's, I did get a business degree, so I'm still using it. guess I am. Maybe I'm not. Yeah, I'm still an outlier. I'm 20% and there are 80% that aren't using it in some way.
Yeah. I figure I'm using all of my bits, but because I have a real overarching point of view, but actually so that means everything that I've done, because I've done quite a lot. I sort of went and did lots of postgraduate stuff, but all of it actually now I realise slots in. So I am using it, but not specialist way, in more of a bringing it together way, which is quite interesting. So Diane, could you let us know how we can get in touch with you and follow you and see all the lovely work that you're doing? What's the best sort of point of contact?
I do have my website. It's dianebelz.com. I am working on that. I am currently developing a online training program, and it's going to take everything that I've been doing, that I've been offering in classrooms and community colleges here, and bringing that online to people looking to do group coaching and such. And it's just an exciting time. Scary and exciting, but I'm almost ready to launch it. And I just feel this, okay, good. I'm taking it to the world, which is scary, but that's how you can reach me.
Fabulous.
I have a contact form within there, so if anyone's interested in coaching or learning more about my classes, I'd love to get on the call and chat with them, see where they're at, and see if I can give them some help and some hope.
Fabulous. Okay, cool. Well, thank you, and thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you at the next interview.